Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels to short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, look at this. We're looking a little different today. Well, good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. So, as you can see, Katie is not Steve. Steve isn't here. He's got some things that he's not going to be able to join us this week, but he'll be back next week. And so Katie decided to grace us with her presence again. We had so much fun last week. And by the way, I mean, that was like genuine when we're like, oh, we have to do this again. And
I know. I can't believe here we are, second week in a row. Hello, everyone. As Sarah said, I'm not Steve. I'm sorry to say, but I am Katie Klein. I'm the host of the Skift original podcast, Sweet Success. And I fell in love with Sarah last week when we met at Skift Global Forum. So I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
I mean, the love was mutual, by the way. The love was mutual. Well, this is exciting because we get to do this. Like, we obviously got to do a little bit of the show last week live, and now we're doing it from our respective homes. So before we dive into our topics, like, what's been going on? Have you had a good week? Like, since what was it? 6 days it's been since we've seen each other.
It has. I am in the throes of the dreaded 4-month sleep regression with my little one over here. So I promise you I'm caffeinated and excited to talk to an adult right now.
You know, I think there should be a study done. And I think that there's probably so much that we can learn from parenting and applying it to hospitality.
That is very true. Patience is a virtue.
Patience being number one. You know, you're just like priming yourself to just like remember, like there are certain things that, you know, like when people get cranky and I'm like, they just need a nap.
They need a nap. They need some food. Maybe they need a change of clothes. We're really simple at the end of the day.
Super simple. And then it's like when you've got a child, you are reminded that at the end of the day, it's just simple things that we need.
Yes. And what about you? You've had a crazy travel whirlwind schedule. Is it good to go home?
So after we were together in Skift, I ended up going to Miami. I was there at the Independent Hotel Show. Got to share the stage with Dina from Stay Pineapple, which was so cool. We talked about hyper personalization and ways that properties can gather information about their incoming guests and then how they can act on it. And by the way, what they are doing at Stay Pineapple Hotels, it's awesome. Look, they only have about 10 properties, so they're far more nimble than some of the larger brands. But for me, that's always what gets me so excited is that these types of hotels can, oh, good morning, Steve. Look at this. Steve just popped on. Wait, can we share this? Oh, Steve, you are missed. Hey, maybe, next time one of these weeks, we should get the three of us on. How about that?
Oh, that would be so much fun.
I was actually looking. Sandwich.
It was like a year ago today that I was in your seat with Steve. I can't believe it's been a full year.
That's right, because I was in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh wow. No,
anyway, full circle moment here.
Full circle moment. Well, Steve, we'll get you back on. And then maybe we can have like the three of us chat. That'd be fun. But yeah, so Stay Pineapple, love what they're doing. They really lean into technology to be able to share, get people to share information. And I love this. So instead of just sending like an outreach email to, incoming guests, it's almost like it gamifies it. So, and instead of just saying, on a scale of 1, 2, 3, asking questions, they're like, what would you like us to know? And they just leave an open text box. And she was explaining that just by having a text box of like, share whatever information you would like to share with us about your upcoming stay or what we should know about you. And it's amazing how much information people will share about themselves.
Yeah.
And then obviously the second part of that is then they then act on it. So super
That's what I
cool.
was going to say. That's tricky because if people are sharing something with you, they're then going to expect you to do something with it. So it sounds
Absolutely.
incredible that she's empowering her team to actually do that.
And she has no limit as far as how much they can spend to do something for someone. So,
Wow.
and she said that in all of the years of them doing that, nobody's gotten above and beyond, like nobody's done anything like egregious. And she's
Right.
like, I'm waiting for the day that somebody
Wow.
does something crazy. And I can
Now
be like,
that the secret is out, Sarah, I might just put in that text form like, I'd really love a private yacht, you know?
yeah, right? No, just like make it up. I think it's too funny. But again, fantastic conversation with her. Love that. So yeah, it's been a fun week. A week full of hospitality stuff. So that's been fun.
Absolutely. Well, welcome home.
Well, thanks. And likewise to you, even though
Thank
you were
you.
not too far from home in New York. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get into our topics for today, if you are ready.
Great. Let's do it.
Whew. Okay. So our friends over at Spirit Airlines, we know things are not looking good for them. They're continuing to not look good. Now I feel bad for the people that work for them, but Spirit is about to furlough 1,800 flight attendants to cut costs in their second bankruptcy. I mean, look, we knew the future wasn't looking bright for them. Obviously, they have to cut jobs, but this is, I mean, I feel bad for the people that are working for them.
Yeah, this is tough. What I appreciate is they are doing voluntary redundancies first. I do think that that's a nice way to mitigate the people who want to keep their jobs and want to stay there. But I do also worry about the ripple effect. You know, after COVID, we saw a lot of great talent leave the travel industry. We've had a bit of a recruitment issue getting people back into the industry, particularly because a lot of our roles are in person versus people looking for hybrid or work from home roles. Flight attendants being a perfect case scenario of that, right? And so what is going to happen to the industry if people don't see these as roles that they can have a bit of longevity with?
No, it's so true. And by the way, for frame of reference, for those that are tuning in, when we're talking about 1,800 flight attendants, that's about a third of their cabin crew. So that's a lot. And I, again, I love that you mentioned the fact that they are doing, voluntary furloughs at first. I mean, none of this is easy, and I'm sure a lot of the employees had a feeling that this was going on. They're also, by the way, negotiating with the pilots union to reduce contract costs by about $100 million. Yeah. So that's wild.
Yeah, and it's not a great message when people are thinking about safety concerns. So it will be good to see how the company takes it from here.
Oh, I was completely thinking about safety. Absolutely. I feel like what's going to be fascinating is how it like moves forward from here. Not even forward, but basically, I mean, it's what ends up happening. Like, does somebody come in and save them? I doubt it. But yeah. So yeah, it is not a good time, I have to say.
No, they're fighting the battle on two fronts. One, the internal communications, and then the external communications as well. So I assume they are doing what's right for the company, for the bottom line, and hopefully once they've gotten back to stasis, they can bring it from there.
Yeah. So are you a fan of Spirit? Have you ever flown Spirit?
I have never flown Spirit, actually. How about yourself?
I flew them once, and it was a red eye to Ohio. And I remember I couldn't recline my seat. Now that could have just been the random seat I got. Sure. And I remember being so uncomfortable. And I was like, I'm not going to do this again. I was going to my cousin's wedding. And I was like, no, I mean, I think I did it for the plot. Let's be honest. They did it for the plot. This was a while ago before I had status with Delta. before I knew better.
For that, right? Maybe the price is a third of what the other carriers are offering. There could be a customer for that. Absolutely.
We know.
Is that you? It doesn't sound like it. Is it me? Probably not either.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, again, by the way, echoing what we heard last week with Frontier, again, there's a product for everyone,
right.
So I mean, and that is the big concern with this, not necessarily that they were like, it's a model product, but it is an option for individuals that it's like they just need something inexpensive and they need to get from point A to point B. And that's why we need low cost options, in the marketplace. So
I think we just need options, period, right? It should be up to the traveler to choose. Maybe they want the high end, maybe they want the low end. And a lot of what we talked about last week with hotels and short-term rentals, it may be the same person choosing different options depending on the trip too. You may not always be a low-cost carrier option. You may not always be in Delta One, although we probably would all love to be. But, it depends on what your needs are at that certain trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So lots going on with them. Will be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. Good morning, Christelle, joining us from rainy Palm Beach.
I think Palm Beach in the rain is still nicer than most places.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It definitely is. Good old Florida. By the way, whoever is joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. I'm back in Los Angeles. We've got Katie in New York. We're representing all the coasts here.
That's
but
right.
But let us know. We'll give you a good shout out. So moving on, this one was interesting. So Agoda job cuts spark outrage over clauses silencing their workers. So Agoda ended up cutting jobs in Singapore, Shanghai, Budapest, kind of moving customer support roles to lower cost locations like India, Thailand, and Egypt. Now, I mean, hello, we're seeing this trend across the board, by the way. But what was interesting was the severance agreements, which included clauses basically discouraging employees from seeking help from authorities or unions. And so a lot of people are pushing back with this. Okay, you're in a big union town for hospitality. We don't need to dive into all of that, but like, what are your thoughts on this?
I'd really love to get an employment lawyer's take on it because I have to wonder, unfortunately, how many of these types of clauses are commonplace, quite frankly. What I love
other parts of the world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even in our parts of the world as well.
True.
So what I love to see though is that this is garnering attention enough so that Agoda came out with an apology. Now that apology maybe lacked a little bit. They said they apologized for if they gave the impression that employees couldn't approach government agencies or trade unions for additional support and advice. That's a little bit like saying, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. You're not really sorry, but an apology is an apology nonetheless.
Yeah. And again, it is. Yeah. But I mean, it's like apology after the fact when it's kind of like, ooh, I was trying to take advantage of our employees.
Yes. I did see this happen recently with a friend, actually. He was made redundant, and in order to get the severance, they gave him a clause where he could not work for a competitor for a year. And he had a very entry-level job. The list of competitors was way, way longer than you would think is an actual
And how was his severance?
Fine. It wasn't huge by any means, but when you're in that position where you're losing your job and you didn't have the expectation of losing your job or the plan of losing your job and you have a family to take care of, are you going to take the money that they're giving you, even if it comes with stipulations, or are you going to say, I don't want your stipulations and therefore I'm going to have nothing? I mean, it's a tricky place for people to be in.
Or negotiate. And hopefully it would be like that they at least cover a year, that the severance would cover at least a year, because that one without doubt I would be like, this severance needs to cover a year if I'm not allowed to work with these companies. Like, what do you
in his situation? It was an entry-level role. It was his first in sales. It was part of a mass layoff. I don't even know that there was a person that they got to speak to about it. So in theory, yes, we would do all of these things, but when it comes down to reality, sometimes we feel like our hands are tied.
Yeah, no, that and that is a very valid point, especially like when it is entry level. I mean, I think back on the certain situations I was put in when I first started in hospitality that then after at least like 10 years of working in the industry, I would be like, oh, no,
Yeah.
no. But
Yeah.
like when it's new to you, you might not know how you can stand and like what legs you can stand on in essence, in these certain
Exactly.
situations.
And the longer you've been working, you realize like how commonplace this is, unfortunately, restructuring in business. I mean, look, our first two headlines of the day are showing that, right? But I
Yeah.
do think there is still a stigma with losing your job or being made redundant
Mhm.
or, even a tinge of shame that some people feel, not that they should, but they do. So
Yeah.
oftentimes you might be in this position of just, trying to take it and sweep it under the rug and move on fast. And you're not
Yeah.
necessarily empowered to do what's right for you.
Yeah, it really is like a gut punch. And I mean, we are going to be seeing so many more of these. I feel like before things start to take a economic upturn, I think we're still going to see more of a downturn, and that is obviously impacting businesses not just domestically, but globally. I think a lot of people get so focused on like, here, and it's like, yo, hold on. We live in a global world. And so what generally is happening here is also happening in other places. It just
Right.
happens to be um, what we're immediately consuming as far as like news and all of that. And we have to really understand that what we do here impacts places elsewhere. And so whether it's like lead by example or just know that you're kind of not in it alone, like while we're weathering this storm, whatever that is, it's challenging times.
Yeah, that is the beauty of the hospitality industry. I do think our industry, we really understand that kind of global purview, whether
Yeah.
it's welcoming guests from all over or expanding brands into other parts of the world, which is probably a perfect segue to our
Yeah.
next topic.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and look at you with that nice smooth transition there. So let's talk about IHG hotels. Their new their Ruby brand is finally making a US debut. This is a huge thing. I'm actually not that familiar with the Ruby brand. Had you been familiar with it, by the way?
No, the first time I heard about it was last week when we were at Skift Global Forum together and we heard
Same.
Elliot Malouf, the CEO of IHG, speak about it. And of course, I
Yeah.
went down the Google rabbit hole after that.
Yeah, exactly. So for those that might not be familiar with Ruby, so it is IHG's 20th global brand, and it
Yeah.
was founded in Germany in 2013. It now includes about 34 properties in major cities, by the way, like across Europe. So this is going to be interesting that they're now debuting it in the United States.
Yeah.
But when you kind of went down the rabbit hole, did you see, how would you kind of describe or maybe equate this brand to another brand for context?
Yeah, they're positioning it as part of their premium portfolio. And
Mhm.
what we heard from Ellie last week was that this is a product that works really well in cities that people want to visit,
Yeah.
places that you have maybe smaller footprints than you do on like the resort places and such,
Yeah.
but wanting to be really in the heart of a place to visit. Now, of course,
Mhm.
many brands can say the same thing, but I think it'll be
Sure.
interesting to see how IHG can deliver on that.
Yeah, and so for those that want to know, I love this. They say that this is kind of like the way that IHG can connect with a new type of traveler. I love this. So the individualist who values soulful, character-driven, premium stays at an affordable price point. I think that I identify with that. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that
I
sounds great.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
us.
But again, it as we just spoke about with airlines, this kind of comes back to hotels. I mean, it's just more options, and people are always looking for more options.
Yeah, what I like about this too is it's interesting to see a brand that was founded elsewhere coming to the
Mhm.
US versus a brand starting in the US and going elsewhere.
And that's also always interesting how it ends up landing.
Mhm.
You've got, sometimes it does well, sometimes it is a bit of a challenge. I mean, I have a feeling, just because of the type of brand that this is, I have a feeling this will do well because it's kind of hitting the type of consumer that's going to be open to that, and because it's still a little bit elevated enough, people are that are it's a type of traveler that's going to want to try something new. It's like, oh, I remember this, or I know of them from Europe, or etc. So I think it actually will do well.
Right. They're also talking about how this is going to play in the urban micro segment, which I hadn't heard
Okay.
it termed that way before. But thinking about what that could mean, that's an area that short term rentals struggle with regulations
Mhm.
often. So this could
Sure.
be a really successful play for the company.
Yeah, urban micro.
Urban
Interesting.
micro. Love that.
I know, right? Love a good new term.
A new term.
Yeah.
Anything to make our small living spaces in big cities sound nice.
Well said. Okay, so this next topic, woo, okay, so
So much
this
to
is
unpack
fun.
here.
This is so much to unpack here. So the launch of Uber Safari fuels over tourism fears in Kenya. Oh my gosh. So Uber, as we know it, they are offering 3-hour wildlife sightseeing tours, drives from Nairobi. And a lot of people it's prompting concern and risks posed by sort of selfie safaris.
Mhm.
What an interesting, by the way, and I love that this is coming off the heels. I'm working on planning a honeymoon for a client of mine, and I was deep dive into safari planning yesterday morning. And so understanding that and everything that I had been reading as far as like planning it, doing all of that, to just commoditize it so casually that
Yeah.
you can book it on Uber. Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So, first of all, have you ever been on a safari?
I have, and
Okay, talk
I
to me about
I have a
this.
lot of thoughts on
Okay,
this one.
share your thoughts because I have not been on a safari yet. I'm good. Animals and I don't need to be that up close and personal
Oh,
without
it
like
is
a guide.
magical. It's truly magical, Sarah. But anyway,
I'm
this
sure.
article really talked about that fear of undercutting those local guides. And
Sure.
it's criticizing Kenya over favoring volume over quality of tourism. And that makes me think of a place like Bhutan. I visited
Yeah.
there probably about 10 years ago now. So things may have changed since then. But there was a minimum amount of money that you had to spend every single day when you were visiting Bhutan. And that could include your lodging. You were required to have a local driver and a car and such.
Interesting.
So it was
Okay.
everything together. And when I dug into why that was, they really were focusing on quality of tourism. They had seen what
Okay.
happened with Kathmandu and neighboring Nepal, where you could stay someplace for like $2 a night. And that was not the segment of tourists that they were going after. So this was their way of
Ooh.
dealing with that. And again, like we've been talking about, options. It's giving people options of maybe that's not the place for you, maybe that is the place for you. And in the article, they quoted Judy Kefergona. She's a consultant on sustainable tourism. And I thought it was
Yeah.
really interesting what she said. We are seeing that people are traveling very differently these days. They don't want to spend several days or even a whole day in the bush. And maybe Uber has seen that there's a gap in the market. They aren't traveling for the understanding of a place and the wildlife. They are there to tick off their list, get content for social media, and they don't seem to care if they're with a driver who knows anything. A quick in and out of the park, a selfie at the gate is enough for some. And I find that to be really unfortunate, but then it begs the
Yeah.
question, right? Of if this is consumer behavior, do you develop a product for them or do you try to change their behavior?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I definitely understand that. By the way, I want to acknowledge Chris Palmer's. By the way, Chris, thanks for joining us. He was asking if there going to be a cap on how many get into the parks. Did you see that? I mean, I think that right now it's a pilot that they're testing it. So I'm sure
Yeah.
with the pilot, there's going to be some sort of cap to it. But I think it's just indicative of a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, it's quality control. I mean, we've all taken an Uber that we've gotten into and we're like, oh, this person should not be taking us to the airport or down the street or whatever it is. Okay. And that's just here in our concrete jungles. Now take that out to a safari.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen the videos where people are out there and it's like, whether you've got a lion that's approaching or an elephant that's approaching a car, and if you've got somebody driving it that doesn't know how to either make the right noise or whatever to deter them, this could get real dangerous real quick.
plus the respect for the animals in their environment as well. And you asked
Yes.
about the safari that I had gone on. So when my husband and I were on a trip in South Africa, it's actually where we got engaged, and we were on safari in the Timbavati Game Reserve, and it was incredible. And the fact, really, what made it so incredible to us was our guides. They
Yeah, I'm
became
sure.
friends by the end of the trip. They even had dinner with us a couple of nights to just get to know them on a personal level. But what they taught us about the animals and how they lived and why they
Yeah.
acted this way, and it made the experience so much more valuable
Yeah.
and made me feel like this is a difference between observing and being a part of the animal
Sure.
kingdom or going to a zoo, which feels really icky to me,
Yeah.
right? And
Sure.
contrast that with, on our honeymoon, we spent some time in Sri Lanka, and we did kind of what sounds like what Uber is offering here, just a quick tour of the Yala National Reserve, where they're known for having leopards. And yes, in the Timbavati, they would radio other drivers and let each other know if something big was happening, but
Yeah.
never more did you have than 4 or 5 cars at one, moment in time.
Totally.
In Yala, when a leopard was spotted, you would have sometimes 20, 25 cars surrounding it. And then you're looking around and going, this doesn't feel right, guys. And so I
Yeah.
wonder what kind of stopgaps they'll put to make sure that this doesn't become the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just more of a safety concern. But yeah, like Chris is saying, he's like a crazy driver. Is that going to hurt the wildlife in the
Yeah.
long run? Absolutely.
And change their behavior. We are there to be observers, not to be
Yeah,
part of it, right?
totally. Now, I'll play devil's advocate on this. Good morning, Kate Parrish.
Hi,
Thank you so much for
Kate.
oh my gosh, this is great. So to play devil's advocate, is it something that you've got people that have been running safaris and this is an additional way for them to tap into those
Right.
individuals that might only want to come for a day? But then
Right.
I would push back on that and say, well, these companies should have day options, and then it's at least legitimized.
Yes, but if we want to play devil's advocate, let's think about the distribution that Uber could give. For example, I own a short-term rental. I can
Yeah.
make my own direct booking site, and there's lots of merit to that. But am
Yeah.
I going to get in front of the 8 million users that Airbnb
Sure.
has every single day? No. So Airbnb is offering me a platform where I can do that. Potentially, maybe, could Uber be doing the same in the sense of exposing these local guides to a broader breadth of people? But then we probably need to get into certain certifications or rules of who is allowed to do this and who is not.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing is, are they doing that? And my gut would be
It didn't
maybe
sound like
not.
that from the article
No.
in the
Yeah.
Times, but potentially.
Potentially. I mean,
Let's
there
hope.
could be definitely like pushback on that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like there's a lot to unpack with this. Like it's
Yeah.
wild. What a crazy idea,
Right.
All right. Well, kind of keeping track of our time here. Oh my gosh, we've gone through. Okay. Well, we'll just quickly talk about this AI bubble, and then we'll kind of like wrap up really quickly. We've been chatting. Okay. So quick thing here. Are we primed for an AI crash? Travel stakeholders weigh in. Why I wanted to quickly touch on this is that last week, both of us were at the Skift Global Forum. We actually saw Glenn Fogel, CEO of Booking Holdings, talk about this. And I mean, do we think that we are in the middle of an AI bubble, and will it burst or crash, so to speak? I absolutely think so. I mean,
I liked what he talked about in terms of the crazy valuations that we're starting to see with AI companies. Actually, I just read a separate article today about how the San Francisco real estate is expected to go crazy because of these crazy salaries that are going to be paid to AI experts who maybe largely live in the Bay Area. But he mentioned about when he joined Priceline, which is, of course, now part of Booking, they had a $30 billion market cap in the spring of 1999, which is when they went public. Shortly thereafter, that dropped to $15 billion. So that cut in half. And then at one point, he said it went to as low as a couple $100 million. Huge change. Obviously, things worked out fine for Priceline, but I think his point being is that some of these companies are just not going to make it because the valuation is too high from the beginning.
Oh, completely. And so Well, I mean, look, I think anytime that you've got a big piece of tech that comes into the market, whether it's tech and any sort of innovation, there's going to be, I mean, think back to like, I think back to cryptocurrency, and like everybody was like, oh, I'm going to create a crypto, I'm going to create a coin. And they were like launching that. And it's like, that some did, they launched and they survived and they did well. And then others, like we found, were a little bit scammy or whatever.
Right.
But so I think that we're absolutely in the middle of this right now. And the real products, the real success that like have legs, they're going to withstand it. And then we'll see different things, different products or companies not necessarily stand the test of time. So we're absolutely right there in the middle of it.
I thought what was interesting in this article too is they did draw the differentiation between how the internet required people to change their behavior. I mean, I remember the day that my family got a compact Presario. I found my diary from being a child and I wrote, today is the best day ever. We got a computer. So that changed our behavior forever. Whereas AI is creeping into the services and the products that we already use every day. And actually on my podcast, Sweet Success, I spoke with John Payton, who's the CEO of Dine Brands, and he was talking about using AI to put a takeout order from Applebee's on a scale and say, it's this percentage off of the weight. We think you're missing the extra ketchup that the guest requested.
Oh, wow.
This week's episode, which actually was recorded last week at Skift Global Forum, is with Phil McAvity. He's the CEO of Iberostar Hotels. And before he was in that role, he was leading a retail company. And he was talking about training their surveillance cameras in shopping malls to be able to pick up when things are spilled on the ground and then flag to people, hey, we need a cleanup over there. So it's that type of AI that I think is super interesting, of how that's going to revolutionize what we're doing, as opposed to like, taking over the physical service that we need in hospitality.
Yeah. Which it gets all interesting times, and we're going to be exploring all the different ways in which it will grow and change, and what ends up being the most, what ends up integrating most into everyday life is what's really going to just succeed in the market.
Absolutely.
So, oh my goodness, I'm looking at the time here. I know that we're kind of getting like close to our time. Do you have a quick 2-second real-time recap of something that happened to you that was amazing, super quick?
Yes, absolutely. In my neighborhood, I recently went back to yoga, as I mentioned, 4 months postpartum over here. So trying to get everything back in order. I discovered a new yoga studio in my area called Astoria Yoga. And I was just blown away how hospitality can be in our everyday lives as well. The studio is located in a big apartment building, which is fine. It's not a fancy building or anything. The second you walk through the studio doors, however, you have this beautiful scent. The owner is absolutely so lovely, really gets to know you. Your name shows you around. The decor, the ambiance that she created in that space, just every little detail, from the wipes for the yoga mats don't smell like bleach. They smell like lovely lemongrass scented. And
love that.
they have a sauna that if you choose to use it, she asks you in advance if you want a hot or a cold towel afterwards. And she just slips that through the curtain at the end so that you have it when you're ready. And just that level of hospitality in even a yoga studio blew me away. How about you?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those that might be new to joining us, the reason why we do this real-time recap is it's this reminder that hospitality is all around us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in hotels and restaurants. It can be. It could just be in a UPS store, in a yoga studio, wherever. And the more that we train ourselves to find and see this hospitality elsewhere, the more that we are inspired to share that and
Deliver
to continue. Deliver it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why we do our real-time recap. But mine, I have to do a shout out to the Carillon Hotel in Miami Beach. So it's a health and wellness hotel, and I had the opportunity to stay there overnight, and I got to meet the general manager, Patrick Fernandez, who was incredible. Everybody on the team was absolutely lovely, and that hotel is really fascinating what they are doing. So, from the hotel standpoint, wonderful. I was had the chance to stay in a 2-bedroom suite, which was so generous of them. And they really went out of their way to find out different things that I like and snacks and whatever. And, I'm not a big drinker, so they knew that, but then they leaned into like other healthy snacks that they had for me. And I was starving when I got there, so it was much appreciated. And then the next day, because I was there so busy for work and I was checking out, they're like, please come back and check out our spa. And they have, they've got a wonderful wellness center, all cutting edge spa treatments that they have this whole touchless spa situation. So that we ended up coming back. Not only did they give the offer to myself, but for me to bring a friend. And we were there for 4 hours trying all sorts of different treatments where it's like radio frequency, electrotherapy, like water therapy, all of this. And it was such a cool thing to see that's out there. And so shout out to them for their incredible hospitality. Also love what they're doing in the health and wellness space. If anybody is interested in building out their brand, this is absolutely a property that you need to check out, because there really isn't a property like this in the entire United States.
Wow. That's high praise.
Yeah, no. And it's true. It absolutely is very true. So huge shout out to them because that was incredible. So yes,
good.
The Caroline Hotel, Miami Beach. All right. So with that, we have our hospitality quote of the week. Would you like to read this, my dear?
Sure. Let's do it. Let's bring it on up.
Okay, perfect.
Hospitality is not about buildings or brands. It is about people caring for people. And that's from Horst Schulze, co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton.
Yes, I love this quote, especially right now in the climate of things. I think it just, and I'll just say this briefly, somebody that I post quite a bit on social media and have I created my brand in 2012. So definitely not new to this space or just the different things that are happening in the world. But sometimes when the climate is the social climate is so heightened, it's like, how can I contribute to the space without just being extra noise? And what I love about that is at the end of the day, it's about people caring for people. And I think that we just really have to remember that, especially when we're pummeled with so much information that might be negative thoughts in one direction or the other direction, that it really just comes down to being people. And that's why I love hospitality so much. It takes away socioeconomic barriers, religious barriers, cultural barriers, all of this. And it just reminds us that we are people. And that's what connects us all.
Getting to know each other on that one-to-one human level, taking care of what we need, like you mentioned with your example of having snacks in the room, kind of like what we talked about with babies. Just feed us, be nice to us, let us relax a little bit.
Feed us, pet us, tell us we look cute. I'm kidding.
Exactly. And Ritz-Carlton, of course, a brand that's famous for empowering its associates and giving a limit, a really healthy limit, to be able to over-deliver on guest expectations. A lot of what you were saying with your friend at Pineapple Hotels as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot out there, and we are very, very lucky to get to work in this industry. It is, I personally think it's an industry that can really make a difference and in the world. So yay to us. So, well, this has been a great show. Did you have fun?
It's so lovely to see you again. Thanks for having me back.
Oh my gosh, of course. No, it's so fun to have you back. We're definitely going to have to do something where it's the three of us are on here. I think it'll be great. We'll have Steve in the middle, flanked by two blondes. We'll talk about everything that's happening. It'll definitely be a great show, but
I look forward to it.
Yeah. So everybody that tuned in, thank you guys so much. As always, if you like this, please be sure to share it, follow us, like all of the things, do whatever you can to help support us so we can continue creating fun and educational content like this. But until next week, Katie, we always say one thing. So, but I will end it unless you want to join me on it. But thank you guys, everyone, and stay hospitable. Bye.
Bye.